Uh, Pratik, first of all, I just wanted to say I think having you on Filme Shilmy is amazing. I've been hearing so many amazing things regarding Scam 1992, and I wanted to just congratulate you for such a remarkable performance and a very iconic work as well. I mean, how have you been feeling after seeing the reactions? Because people are loving it. How are you feeling after seeing what people have had to say about it?
My God, this feeling is surreal right now. I'm still trying to digest the fact that everything is happening for real. And so yeah, so I'm absorbing everything right now.
Right, right.
I keep saying that please keep pinching me so that I feel that yeah, it's real, it's real, it's real.
Right. I think playing Harshad Mehta is a very difficult role to play. And I say this because number one, it's because of the fact that I mean it's kind of a real life character, so to try and stay true to what that person was, number one. And then secondly, it's the fact that even though he's the main protagonist of the series, what he does is of course very questionable and is very grey. So for you as an actor, how did you get that perfect balance?
See, the way I've approached this character is an interesting process for me also,
Right.
because there is a lot said about this character. There are a lot of things available on the internet also, as reference material. There are a lot of theories around him, uh, and lot of things which are there. And this him being, infamous for whatever that happened in 1992 as a
Right.
scam.
Yeah.
So after having known everything, you are supposed to forget everything, keep it in your back pocket, and create a character neutrally. Because
Mm,
I can't get biased when I create a character. I can't get biased whether I want to make him a hero or a villain.
mm,
I have to be neutral so that the audience can, get a neutral perspective, and then audience can decide what they want to feel.
mm.
So it's
Right.
open for interpretation by them. So that's how I have tried to approach the character, and
Mm.
that's it.
Right. So, I know you just said that that's the approach that you took, but in terms of the actual method, what references did you kind of look onto? I mean, was there a particular sort of technique that you used to adapt to that character?
Well, there is no technique as such that I have, but my process of creating any character is very simple. I understand the emotional graph of the character, and then
Mm,
I want to recreate those emotions. I want to live those emotions for the fact in
right.
front of the camera. So whenever I'm in front of the camera, whenever I'm on stage, I want to make that moment live,
Mm,
so that whatever I feel, I can make the audience feel the same. Be it
right.
happiness, be it sadness, be it the fear, the anger. Emotion should be translated with utmost purity and honesty. Is what I try every time.
Mm. So I think it's very interesting because we've had a lot of series on scams and a lot of financial crimes emerge. I mean, we had Bad Boy Billionaires on Netflix just not too long ago, and then we have Scam 1992 right now. Why do you think suddenly these sort of narratives are coming to surface?
I think see that there are a lot of people are following the trend. This word called trend is like something is being made somewhere. Then there is a trend. So most of the places people are making the similar kind of a content. Suddenly you see, a lot of underworld content being made,
Mm,
and there's so that has been a trend for I mean, we see it every time. But as far as our series is concerned, so I know that this has nothing to do with it. It was under construction since a long time.
mm,
Almost 3.5 years of research has gone behind it,
mm,
and they never knew that by the time this will come, Bad Boy Billionaire will come, or some other thing will come.
mm.
And I'm sure when we started, Money Heist was also nowhere close to a release, or we never heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just happened that everything came together, and suddenly we see a trend. कि, अच्छा ऐसा सब चल रहा है.
Right, right. And I'm glad you mentioned that it's been in the making for quite some time because I think we also have a feature film on his life as well coming called The Big Bull, starring Abhishek Bachchan as well. Um,
Right.
so obviously. because of the fact that Scam 1992 is based on Harshad Mehta and so is the film, how prepared are you for comparisons made when Big Bull emerges?
Oh my God, that's that's another thing altogether. Yeah, because those who are involved in the film, they are very very senior to me,
Hmm,
and they've done a lot of work.
right.
So there is no comparison as such. And other part is the film is a different medium. Web series is a different medium.
Hmm,
Web series gives you that freedom of telling the story in detail for 10 episodes or maybe 12 episodes, and there is no set format of length. There is no set format of how you want to tell your story.
hmm,
So there is a lot of freedom available on web series form.
hmm,
Whereas in the film, you have to say whatever you want to say in those 2 hours.
hmm,
So that's a different challenge altogether. So
hmm.
I don't see it's a equal comparative, comparison possible there.
Right. And I think it's great that Hansal Mehta has directed the series as well because I guess he himself is Gujarati and I think he's presented stories of Gujaratis who are involved in financial crime before, like in Simran, Kangana Ranaut's film as well, which the character
Yeah.
was Gujarati, but she wasn't the stereotypical Gujarati, even though she had the accent, but the sort of lifestyle she lived was very different. Um, how important is it for such narratives to be told? Because I feel Gujarati cinema as a whole is going for a very, very different direction now and a very upward direction too.
So this was one of the biggest point for me when I was approached for this, and I was very happy that for the first time on mainstream, Gujarati language and Gujarati culture will not be made fun of.
Mm,
We are not going to, mimic about it.
yeah,
We are not going to make it caricaturish, and we are presenting it the way it is.
yeah,
And as a Gujarati, I really feel proud about it that my language, my culture is not being laughed at.
mm,
Because generally that's what we have seen, over the period of time on television, even in cinema, that Gujaratis are the characters that they create are loud characters, talking in Hindi and wrong English, and always making it caricatures and mimic about it. So
mm,
that was a very interesting point because Hansal sir always decided that we want to approach it in a realistic manner.
mm, right,
So wherever we have used Gujarati words, these are authentic Gujarati words, authentic Gujarati lines.
right. And I think I've realized as well because you talk a lot in Gujarati as well. I think it can be said that the series is basically split into two languages. It's Hindi and of course Gujarati. And I think bringing out the authenticity is very, very important.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when you try to get someone, I mean, it's fine that an actor tries to play something because that's the role of an actor, but having that extra authenticity, I think, just helps it and uplifts the series as well, for sure.
Sure. And that's one of the reasons why I got this character also, because I'm sure the talent is one part. The other part is he's watched my work also. Everything is fine. I had gone for an audition also, but me being Gujarati, making this Gujarati character alive, that also worked in my favor,
Right.
and I'm aware about that, so that's okay.
No, that's good. And I think it's one of the biggest plus points. But I want to speak more about you, Pratik. I think I have really loved your journey. I mean, I saw Wrong Side Raju and I was completely in awe of the film. I mean, for one, it completely redefined what we recognize as Gujarati cinema. Being a part of the film and being and seeing the success that it got, not just in India but also I think internationally as well. I believe it was premiered here in UK and it was a very terrific response. Did you ever expect Wrong Side Raju to get the sort of reception that it did?
Oh, I mean, when we were making the film, when I heard the script for the first time, I was really thrilled about it. That it's such kind of a narrative, such kind of film is going to be made for the first time in Gujarat.
Hmm.
And then when I saw the final cut, final film and all, I was really, really happy because the way it looks nothing less than a mainstream cinema. It's
Hmm.
an international film. It looks like an international film. And then, as you correctly said, it traveled a lot across the world. I guess Nikhil, the director, he traveled with the film for almost 17 international festivals.
Hmm. Right.
It got a lot of appreciation from the audience, and we all got benefited from it.
Hmm.
Everybody.
And do you know what I find really fascinating actually? And I just realized this after watching Scam 1992 is the fact that um, you played this character in Wrong Side Raju, who is basically a naive, innocent guy who just basically gets caught up at the wrong time, doing the wrong things, basically, under the wrong company in a way as well. And similarly, that's what happens with Harshad Mehta in a way. So, is this something that you also are fascinated by, or seeing like good characters just turn really bad throughout the journey? Is that something that you actively look out for as well, or something that strikes a chord with you?
So what strikes a chord with me, or what I look forward, is to create complex emotions. And
Hmm.
these are very human emotions. No, I mean, it's very, very human, very realistic. Nobody in the world who is perfectly right or perfectly wrong.
Hmm.
There are, we all react to the situations differently. Sometimes it comes across as a wrong thing. Sometimes it might come across as right thing to somebody. But then other part of people, there are a set of people who will always feel that this is wrong. And
Right.
that makes you gray.
Yeah.
So you are constantly, juggling with the moral dilemma.
Hmm. Yes.
And I love creating those kind of complexities in characters and perform it, because that's very layered. It challenges you as an actor.
Yeah, and I think even with Harshad Mehta in Scam 1992, as we spoke at the beginning as well, like there's always that uh balance that you need to keep, and you want to make sure you
Yeah,
don't glorify uh
yeah,
the character. So that must have also been an immense pressure on you.
yeah. So it was an interesting pressure, because see, as I told you, that we decided to approach this character neutrally,
Yeah.
and then you create every situation in a real life again. I mean, you create every situation
Hmm.
and then react to it. So don't act. We were told not to act. Just react to those situations, those dialogues, those lines that come there, and make it live. So I mean, we kept doing that.
Right. Yeah, I think that definitely does come across. That's sort of like I said, it just does seem very organic, and I think that's what makes it so uh relatable in a very weird way as well. Like you feel like you're in that setting, you feel like you're in the 70s to the 90s. I felt that. I think also kudos goes to like the set creation, the hair and
Oh
makeup,
my God, yes.
technical team as well. I think it was so finely done. And I think yeah, I think that's also fab. But I know I know one's culture, one's language doesn't really impact the actions of an individual. But given the fact, like I said, we had Bad Boy Billionaires, in which it talks, one of the episodes talks about Nirav Modi, as well, and here's obviously the whole scandal that happened as well. Was there ever that fear of, for you as well, of perhaps people getting a bad image of Gujaratis, or them being perhaps stereotyping Gujaratis as, oh my God, them doing financial kaplas all the time? Was there ever that fear ever before you took on the role?
Oh no, no, no. I never had that kind of fear though, because there are all sort of people there in the whole world, yeah, in every community, in every region you go.
Hmm.
So I mean, just putting them in one particular region or naming them would be a very shallow thing, I guess. I
Right.
was never worried about that.
Yeah. And in what way do you think Scam 1992 will kind of pave the way for more financial crime series, fictional ones, in particular? In what way, what direction do you think the OTT platforms will go in producing more such content?
I guess this is Scam is the first financial thriller that India has produced
Right.
in terms of OTT platform, yeah, in terms of web series,
Hmm.
and it is received so well that yeah, I believe there are a lot of people who would want to explore this, because we were also a little worried, and we I guess makers, so Hansal sir, the writers, they were all thinking about it to make it digestible by the people, because it is very technical.
Yeah.
We know not everybody would not understand those technical words of the financial world,
Hmm.
like BR and SGL, PDO, the transactions, how it happens, and on. And we put those things in the scene and in the dialogue so that the people can easily understand and follow it. Is a task.
Hmm.
So they took that risk, and it worked very well. So now I guess yes, you are right. It opened up another genre altogether.
Hmm. And I think also with Hansal Mehta himself as a filmmaker, I've realized that his films usually are very unhurried, and I really find it fascinating how he always sort of showcases humanized accounts of very questionable and grave crimes.
Yes.
And I
Yeah,
think, and
yeah,
I think,
yeah,
and I
very
think
true.
he's definitely cut out for the web series sort of space as well. But coming back to you again, Pratik, I believe તમે Gujarati theatre માં ચાલુ કર્યું હતું. I believe you
Ji,
began your
ji,
career
ji, ji, ji.
through that. And a lot of the actors that I've spoken with who are Gujarati and who have made huge waves in the industry, they've all kind of began from there as well. How important is theatre, do you think, for any actor? But obviously and specifically for you, because you obviously began with Gujarati theatre. How important is it for them to get that sort of exposure?
See, I personally believe that theater is actor's gym, where you go and and finish your craft. You build your craft, and then when you go in the actual real world, it's a knockout match because you just get one chance to prove yourself, and you have to be completely ready for that. And theater, helps you build it.
Mm,
So yes, theater is very, very necessary for all the actors, is what I personally believe, coming from my own experience. And
mm,
theater helped me, make my craft, polished my craft. I could create a lot of characters. I have performed in very different situations because you face different challenges every time. So yeah, it prepares you.
mm, definitely. And plus the fact that it's spontaneous as well. You don't get takes, whatever you do,
Yes,
you do there. And that must also really help as well.
which is very true, and that's an interesting part for theater.
Mm. So I did an interview recently, and we were having a discussion about how before there was a time when people, especially Gujaratis themselves, would very much frown upon Gujarati movies and perhaps series or anything to do with that. It's like if you were given an option to watch a Bollywood film or a Gujarati film, people would be like, "Oh, Gujarati film not joey, boring hase, bakwas hase, not joey." There was literally, I remember those dialogues like that have taken place. But now I think since obviously we've had it wrong side Raju, Bayar, you were also a part of, which was a very iconic film, and of course Helaro recently, which has completely taken it to another level. How do you think people's eyes are now towards Gujarati cinema? In what way do you think um, things will change now?
I guess people have loved Gujarati films off lately. So right from Beha to Wrong Side Raju to Lovni Bhavai became one of
Yeah.
the biggest
Mm,
biggest hits. Yeah,
yes.
people loved the music of Lovni Bhavai. Then Ventilator also reached out to a lot of
Yes.
people. People loved that also. My last release, Love Me Love Story, also had a good theatrical release in Canada.
Right.
I mean, people have started watching those Gujarati films. They are waiting for new Gujarati film. The best part is that even youngsters would have Gujarati songs in their lists
Yeah.
and they are listening to it. So a lot of things have changed, and I
It's
guess the future is really, really bright. Good content is being churned out, and as you rightly said, Hellar also changed a lot of things. It has given uh, lot of freedom to makers that now you can experiment. People are open for it. Audience is open for it.
Hmm. But why do you think there was that skepticism there? I mean, what do you think was lacking the towards the amount of good content coming out of Hollywood? I mean, what would you say would be that aspect or just a reason why people were so like skeptical and very almost condescending towards it? Why do you think that was the case?
Again, I would say it's a like the most weird thing that must have happened is that people or the makers have typecasted the audience, and that's the worst thing that you do. That Gujaratis would want to only they just want to laugh. They just want to have those comedy. They just want to have one garba and those things.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest part. I mean, you can't do that. This
No.
is the same audience that consume the best of the content across the world.
Yeah.
They are generating maximum revenue for Bollywood films, and not all the Bollywood films are comedy films. So all the logic says that don't do that. But then they have their own trends, they have their own calculations, which says that no, only comedy will work, only this will work, that will work, and then they restrict themselves from doing the experiments. But then there are exceptions, those who have done experiments and they've succeeded.
Right, exactly. Like Wrong Side Raju, definitely, I would say was an experiment. I think because I don't think I've ever seen a dark
Yeah,
film or the way it was made to the level that it was made, rather, the way it was, and I think that's definitely something I vouch for. But I'm glad you mentioned about that Gujarati लोग ने बस हसूद होए. Like I'm glad you mentioned that stereotype, because I
Yeah,
think
because I've been hearing this particular thing, even in the theater world, even in the cinema world, everybody talks about it. કે ગુજરાતીઓને શું કરવું છે? લોકોને હસવું છે, ગાંઠિયા ફાફડા ખાવા છે ને ગરબા કરવા છે. That's the image.
hmm,
And I used to feel sad that it's not that. I mean, there is much beyond than that. Maximum Gujarati people are there in the mainstream as makers. They are putting their money, they are writers, directors, actors, doing brilliant work across the world. And then we are typecasting the whole community just because of this.
yeah, it's true. Even Garba to a certain extent has been made very caricaturish, and I
Very
think
caricaturish, yeah.
like it's I mean it's sad because it's such a beautiful dance form. I feel like you can literally just make a film based on the origins of Garba itself, and it's so deep rooted. But yet it was still very much kind of like, oh, dandiya playing with sticks and all of that. I'm just like, come on guys, we're a lot more than that. But I'm kind of glad that we're in this phase where it's all changing now, as well. But you've obviously worked in a few Bollywood films as well. I believe you were in Lavyatri as well.
And Mitro. And
and,
Mitro.
and Mitro, yeah. And obviously, in those films, I feel like even though they were like kind of like your mainstream kind of cinematic theatrical films, your role didn't get as much justice as it rightfully deserved. So, given the fact that you have the OTT platform now, and obviously you have content now coming out in Hindi, as we saw in Scam 1992, how much of a blessing would you say it's been?
Oh, it's a big, big blessing. Yeah. It has become a turning point in my career already. The people who, I'm coming from a background of teachers, my entire family is into teaching business. I mean, nobody from the last so many generations, I mean, never ever has anything to do with this field.
Hmm.
And then me reaching here and doing as the central protagonist character in such a big series is a big thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is going to change a lot of things for me, is what I want to believe.
Hmm. Hmm. And I'm glad you mentioned a bit about your background as well. I mean, I guess anyone coming from a non-filmy background, it's obviously very different to perhaps what one might have expected or envisioned or hoped the industry would be. What was that transition period like for you? Was it as startling as perhaps it would have been maybe if you did jump straight into Hindi films, for example?
I think whatever happened happened for the best for me, because when I shifted to Bombay in 2004, immediately if I would have got something really big, I don't know how I would have been able to deliver,
Hmm.
because I needed to learn a lot. And
Hmm.
that's when the entire journey, maybe the Almighty has designed this entire journey for me, that you learn for all these years, and then when you get a chance, you perform. So, so I guess I am taking it that way, that whatever I did all these 15 years, everything helped me
Hmm.
in whatever I'm doing today. Every small bit of it, be it related to my engineering, be it related to my acting career, be it related to everything that I've done.
Hmm. And I think it's great as well because even in terms of the filmmaking side of things, we've had some great Gujarati figures emerge, like Hardik Mehta, who made Kamyab. I mean, I've
Oh,
spoken to
yes.
Hardik, and hearing about his experience, I'm just like, wow, like it's just so good that we're finally seeing Gujarati voices being heard, through mainstream
Oh,
cinema, for Gujarati cinema. I think you being one of the key figures and key actors, I think, of Hollywood. What would you like to see going forward, as an actor or maybe as someone who enjoys working in the industry? What sort of content would you like to see rising now?
okay. So I want to see a lot of films being made on Gujarati literature. We have such a strong literature, rich literature, and someone should tap those stories.
Hmm. Exactly, because we're seeing so many Shakespeare adaptations. Like Ramlila, for example, I see it was a great film, and I think it would be
Yeah,
so fascinating to see a film of that scale happening in Gujarati, but
in
based
Gujarati.
on a literature that we have. I think that would be really, really amazing as well. So, do you have any plans of sort of like making that vision or making that uh, sort of idea happen as well in practice?
So I would love to be a part of such project anytime if it's happening.
Hmm.
But I'm as of now, I'm just concentrating on my acting career. Though I do direction and all on the theater and stage.
Hmm.
But as far as the screen medium is concerned, I'm concentrating on my acting career right
And that must be very different as well. Like directing on stage is arguably very different because I guess the whole machinery works very differently too, right?
Yeah, yes. It's a very interesting process and a very enlightening. Every time that you approach the character as a director and as an actor, it's two different things.
Lovely, lovely. So post Scam 1992, what else can we look forward to from you?
So my one Hindi film, which I guess just mentioned, Bhavai, is already it's there, it's ready. It should release anytime soon now. Once all these things settle down, and once we hear the theaters opening up, we shall release that soon. Another Gujarati film is also ready, which should release next year, early next year.
Okay.
Uh, and apart from that, other new projects, I'm just hearing a lot of projects. I'm getting narrations, and a lot of discussions are happening. So something should work out soon.
Wow, that is absolutely fantastic to hear. And I think I'm very much looking forward to seeing more work from you. And I think just seeing your name, Pratik Gandhi, as Harshad Mehta, I think it really did just make us feel so proud. So, honestly, I just wanted to say thank you, Pratik, for, being such an amazing actor and, sort of being the sort of torchbearer for us in a way. So thank you so much for joining me as well
Thank
on
you.
Filme Shilmy, and congratulations on Scam 1992.
Thank you very much for all the love. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.